Hare Krishna. So we'll start with the Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Rata Vihari, Radhe, Jai Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Jai Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Haribol, Haribol. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय हो। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् अभयचरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, डिस्कवर योरसेल्फ कोर्स की जय। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshadarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you in our. This is our fourth session, and we will discuss today about what are the criteria which decides that after death a living entity what kind of body he will be getting in next birth. So this phenomena of reincarnation, it happens on what basis, that I will see today, and we will also see the scientific understanding behind reincarnation, and we will see some some real stories of reincarnation which were recorded by some scientists. So yesterday we saw the science of soul, that how we are not this body but we are a spirit soul, and we are encaged in this body, similar as if the parrot is engaged in a cage. Similarly, the soul is engaged in this material body, and we have three types of bodies actually. One is gross body, which is made of earth, fire, air, water, ether, and our subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. And our real body or our soul, Atma, we ourselves, we are made up of Satchit Ananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Then we saw what is the place of soul in the body, that is heart. Then what is the soul size, that is 10,000 of the tip of the hair. That much is the size of a soul. It's very minute, and it cannot be seen by strongest microscope also. Then we studied that soul is the cause of shape of the matter. Soul gives the shape to matter, and soul is the real person in the body who feels all the emotions like happiness, distress, anxiety, fear, bliss, frustration, anger. All this feeling, hearing, watching, singing, speaking, all these activities are done by soul actually. So we saw all these things yesterday. Now today we will see at the time of death what happens actually, and what decides that this particular soul, will get which body in the next birth. Uh, so this phenomenon of reincarnation is depend on uh, what basis, that we will see. So here are our three bodies: our gross body, our subtle body, and our real body, internal body, that is soul. And we saw this wonderful video also. So on what basis the soul is awarded the next body? So in Bhagavad Gita, in 8.6, Krishna says to Arjuna that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam iveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. So Krishna says the particular whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. This is Bhagavad Gita 8.6. You can study this at home. Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is translated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. You can open it, 8th chapter, 6th verse, and you will come to know about this principle. That at the time of death, whatever the living entity remembers, similarly that person gets a different body in next birth. So it depends on the consciousness or the thoughts at the time of death. So the yogis or bhakti yogis, those who are practicing spiritual life, Hare Krishna devotees, they are practicing to remember Krishna always. And by doing so, they are trying to remember Krishna at the time of death also. And if someone is able to remember Krishna at the time of death, he will go to Krishna. And if he remembers something, some object within this material world, then he has to come back again in this material world. So that is a very simple science to understand. Who will go where after the death? So this misunderstanding is there in the society, that people they think that one who dies, any human being, he dies, they think that he has gone to Swargaloka, Swargavas, he has become a Swargavasi. So that's not the fact always. A person who has done lot of pious activities, that person can go to Swargaloka, and that is also not a permanent place. After expending, after expensing all the pious credits, he has to come down, and again he has to start working, and then action and reaction cycle goes on continuously. So here is the science which Krishna says to Arjun, that one who remembers Krishna at the time of death, he goes to Krishna. One who remembers any demigod like Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha, Durga Mata, and Goddess Kali, Sai Baba. So whatever they remember, they go to the same place where these demigods stay. So in the Puranas, in Bhagavad Purana, there is one story, one pastime of Bharat Maharaj is given. Bharat Maharaj was a king of whole earth, Chakravarti Samrat, and he gave up everything and he went to jungle, forest to perform austerities to achieve Krishna consciousness, perfection of life, Krishna Prem, love of Godhead. And he was doing austerities on the bank of a river. One day he saw a deer. She was running in fear because of tiger, and she was pregnant also. So because of that fear, she gave birth to the baby prematurely, and that baby fell in the water and uh, started water. The flow of river was taking it away from the mother, and he was about to drown now. And Bharat Maharaj was very compassionate for that uh, small cub of the deer. So he wanted to protect that small deer, and he rose up from his meditation and he went and saved that small deer. And eventually he became so attached to that deer, he brought him in his ashram and then started taking care of it. After some days, that deer was missing, and Bharat Maharaj was looking for that deer. Where is that deer? Where is that deer? And in that state, the Bharat Maharaj, he got heart attack and he left his body. So in the next birth, he became a deer because he was searching for deer. He was remembering that deer at the time of death. So he became a deer next life. And he spent that second life in the deer form, deer body, in the forest only, near the ashram of the rishis. And then third birth he took as a Jad Bharat. Uh, he got born in a Brahmana family as a Jad Bharat. So that is a whole pastime narration of the story. Uh, it tells us that whatever we remember at a time of death, similarly we get the particular body in the next birth. So our consciousness is like an animal at the time of death, then we will get animal body. If it's like a human being, then we will get human being body again. If we remember some demigod, some devata, then we will go to devata's planets. And if we remember Krishna, then we will go to Krishna. So that is the simple science of Bhagavad Gita, which tells about what is the destination of soul after the death of body. So when one ignores God's laws and engages in sinful activities with his impure mind and senses, then one glides down to animal bodies. So one who engages in the sinful life, he goes to animal bodies. So there are 84 lakh species of life mentioned in the scriptures. So there is a verse in Shastras that Jalajanava Stavara Laksha Vinshati Krumayo Rudra Sankhyankaha Pakshinam Dasha Lakshanam Trinsha Lakshani Pashavah Chatur Lakshani Manusha. So if you count all this, if you go on adding, aquatics means the living beings who are staying in water, living in water, they are called Jalaja, born in water. Ja means taking birth. Jala means water. Jalaja. Navalakshani, 9 lakh. 9 lakh species of aquatics. Stavara Laksha Vinchati. Stavara means unmovable things like trees. They are unmovable. Achal. These plants are 20 lakhs. Laksha Vinchati. Vinchati means 20. Then Krumayo, the insects or small insects. These are in 11 lakhs. Rudra. Rudra means it's one of the form of Shiva, Rudra. So Rudras are 11 in number. So in code language, it is said in Sanskrit that Rudra Sankhyanka means 11 lakh species of krumis, insects. Then Pakshinam Dashalakshakam, 10 lakh species of birds are there. Trinsha Lakshani Pashuva, 4-legged animals are 30 lakh species of life are there of 4-legged animals. And Chatur Lakshani Manusha, and different types of human beings like Yaksha, Devta, Manusha, Yaksha, Kinnara, Vidyadhara. There are different type of people are there who lives on higher planetary systems and on Earth, and also on in the lower planetary systems. So all these types of human beings, there are 4 lakh species. So the soul, one by one species is revolving in one species, then second species, like that the soul transmigrates from one species to another species. So in our scriptures, this theory of evolution is explained as there are 84 lakh species already exist, they eternally exist, and the soul is also eternal and goes between these species by one after another before he takes to human form of life. That is naturally happening. This transmigration of soul from animal bodies, insect bodies, birds bodies, they happen according to their natural instinct, according to the plan of material nature. But when he gets a human form of body, then he has a freedom to choose what he wants to do. He wants to act like an animal so that he can become animal again, or he wants to become a servant of God or a demigod where he can enjoy the higher what do you say, opulences of life. So here is mentioned about 84 lakh species of life, and this human form of life is very rare. It's considered very rare because after revolving in this 84 lakh species of life, the fortunate souls, they get this human form of life in which they get a chance to go out of this cycle of birth and death. And that can happen by taking shelter of Lord Krishna, by performing devotional service, and achieving perfection in this life, purification, by doing purification of body, mind, senses, everything, the consciousness. When it is totally cleansed, and when we remember Krishna at the time of death, then we can go back to Godhead, back home, back to Godhead, and we can enjoy eternal spiritual life there. So now we saw uh, the principle behind what is the deciding factor in soul going from one body to another body. So what is the deciding factor in uh, this phenomenon, that what kind of body he will achieve in the next birth, what decides which body he will get. So that is the remembrance at the time of death. So those people who think that whatever I want I can do throughout my whole life, and I will remember Lord at the time of death. So my dear friends, it's not possible. The our mind thinks about those objects more and more. Our mind, but whatever he thinks for the more uh, frequency or more time throughout his life, those things only he can remember at the time of death. So that's why this human form of life is made for satsang, for doing devotional activities, so that we can engage our mind in Krishna, God, and we can remember Krishna for more and more time, and at the time of death we can remember him. So that is the whole purpose of this human form of life. Now we will see about reincarnation. So many times people say that we don't believe in reincarnation. What is this? This is just mythology. We don't believe in it. So whatever you have got, this life is the only life. Once in a you get this life once only, and you just try to enjoy as much as you can do. You enjoy. So that is the philosophy of many people in this world. But here, what the scientists are saying, here is the professor of psychiatry, Ian Stevenson. Uh, he is a professor in University of Virginia. He has extensively studied more than 2,000 cases of reincarnation, and especially small children who tells who tell memories about, who give memories about their past lives. Whatever they have not heard from someone, they have not been taught by someone about those things, but they are keep on speaking about this such matters, that I was there, my parents were such and such, and I used to go, I used to do something. So he used to narrate, the boys narrate. So many times these people uh, remember past life memories. And here, this psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry, Ian Stevenson, he has studied these cases, and out of those cases, there is a very peculiar story of Shukla that we will study later on. So there are more than 100 books available in the market which talks about reincarnation. So reincarnation is a scientific process, because life is continuous. If the living beings are uh, undergoing death, then how life is continuing? Because new souls, the dead body, from dead body, this the soul leaves the body and he enters into another body. In that way, the life continues, goes on, because new living entities take birth, and that becomes possible because of the living entity soul. Because we saw in the first session that in laboratory we cannot create a living being, because we said that they don't know the basic principle of life, that is soul. Without soul there cannot be life. So soul is the basis of life, and without soul nobody can create a living being without soul. That's not possible. So Krishna is the father of all living beings, all souls, and he infuses all these souls in the living, this material nature. Lord Brahma creates the different 84 lakh species of life, and these living entities are given particular bodies according to their previous karmas. And next cycle, creation and annihilation, they continuously goes on. So proof of a reincarnation is that small children, just 2 years old boy, this is one boy here, we see that he is so fearful of water, he is not ready to enter water. We can say it's a water phobia, so much fear, extreme fear of water. And here the same age boy who is fearlessly swimming, very expertly swimming in water, underwater swimming. So we can see this difference, that why these two children, why these two boys have a different nature, why this particular boy has a phobia. So this particular fact is based on their previous life. Those people who are died by drowning in water, they get phobia of water next time. Similarly, some people have fear of sharp instruments like knife or razor or the sword, like that, because they were died in the last previous life because of stabbing. Someone stabbed them, someone killed them with a knife. So they got so much fear in their mind because of the death in previous life. So same fear of this sharp knife they are carrying in this particular life. Here this woman, she has a fear of guns because she was shot by a gun in her last life. So that is a cause of phobia. Otherwise, how the small child is just born, 2 years old, how he has a particular phobia? Some people have fear of heights, some people have fear of water, some people have fear of police, they have fear of weapons, different fears people have. Fear of darkness. And here one more proof that there is incarnation, reincarnation. So here is the example of identical twins. Means in the mother's body there is egg, and when the sperm fertilizes that egg, sometimes that egg divides into two. Means two babies develop from just one egg. So these two boys are identical twins. Uh, they are born by just division of one egg only. So they have on the bodily level they have everything equal, everything same. But if we say in their temperament, their nature, their likings, they are two different individuals. They have different liking. As they grow, we can understand that they have different desires. So this particular example shows that these two boys, they have come from one mother only one mother, in one womb, in same environment. Uh, they were there for 9 months, and from one egg only they were divided, same genetic material, but their temperament, their mind, desires, likings are totally different from each other. That shows that different souls, they have entered these two different boys. these two different kids have two different souls, and because of their previous activities, they develop particular desire in this particular birth. So now here we will see one video in which we will try to understand that reincarnation is a fact, and there are many recorded cases in the present life also. There are people still, there are living people who have experienced memories of previous life, and when historical records were checked, they were correct. So here is one example out of that. Just give me a minute.
Once again, Charles Gibson. And now, one of the biggest questions of life. What happens when it's over? Heaven? Hell? Nothing? Or might there be a fourth possibility, reincarnation? Could we come back as someone else? Here's Chris Cuomo with two down-to-earth parents who thought they understood the mysteries of life. That is, until their toddler began to talk.
On March 3rd, 1945, a 21-year-old Navy fighter pilot on a mission over the Pacific was shot down by Japanese artillery. His name might well have been forgotten, were it not for the remarkable, some might say unbelievable story of a little boy named James.
Okay, this is really tough. I need somebody to help me.
All right, I'm the volunteer. What do you want me to do?
Okay, just go climb this thing and you have to hold me in case I fall.
Done. James Leiniger is all boy, 6 years old and full of spirit. This is a special plane that goes in reverse. You don't see a lot of that. James knows a lot about planes, especially war planes. What kind of airplane is that?
It's a Corsair.
His parents, Andrea and Bruce Leiniger, say from an early age, James would play with nothing else.
He was obsessed with airplanes. You look around the house, that's all you'll see. Airplanes, helicopters, aircraft carriers.
But then, when he was 2, the planes James loved suddenly began to give him frequent and frightening nightmares.
I'd wake him up and he'd be screaming and he'd always be laying on his back, kicking his feet up at the ceiling. And I'd say, baby, what were you dreaming about? He'd say, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out.
They sound like typical kiddie nightmares, but Andrea says they went on the same way for months. Here's James at age 3, going over a plane as if he's doing a pre-flight check. He would continue to say and do things that were puzzling, like the time his mom bought him a toy airplane.
And I said, oh, look, there's a bomb on the bottom of it. He said, that's not a bomb, Mama, that's a drop tank.
A drop tank?
I'd never heard of a drop tank. I didn't know what a drop tank was.
Andrea's mother suggested she look into the work of counselor and therapist Carol Bowman. Bowman has written 2 books, both supporting the proposition that sometimes the dead can be reborn.
We are taught from a very early age in this culture, in the Judeo-Christian culture, that reincarnation doesn't exist. Once you observe this in a child, and the evidence is very compelling, you have to open up to another explanation for what is going on.
Bruce was deeply skeptical.
He said there has to be a logical explanation.
I don't believe in past lives. I don't believe in this stuff.
But with the violent nightmares recurring 3 and 4 times a week, the Leinigers felt they had to do something. So with guidance from Bowman, they cautiously began to encourage James to share his memories. They say the result was startling.
The nightmares immediately started reducing in frequency. He went down from 3 or 4 times a week to maybe 1 a week, 1 every other week. And at that point was when he started to articulate more about these past life memories.
Seems normal enough, a little boy improving when his troubles are directly addressed. But Bowman says this is more, that James was forthcoming because this is the age when former lives are most easily recalled.
They haven't had the cultural conditioning, the layering over of experience in this life, so that the memories can percolate up more easily. These memories tend to fade between the ages of 5 to 7.
His parents say between the ages of 2 and 4, James would reveal extraordinary details about the life of a former fighter pilot, mostly at bedtime, when he was drowsy.
Bruce said, what happened to your plane? He said, it crashed on fire. And Bruce said, why did your airplane crash? And he said, it got shot. And Bruce said, well, who shot your plane? And I'll never forget the look on his face. He went, oh, the Japanese.
Still, despite these extraordinary stories, Bruce remained dubious, almost to prove they couldn't be true. He began to piece together the details James was sharing. And what he found, he says, shook him to the core. For in many instances, the stories appeared to match the facts. James seemed to be recalling real events, real people, in the life of a man who'd been dead for almost 60 years. With each passing month, little James Leininger seemed to be peeling back memories of a past life.
Hey,
Vivid memories that scared and astonished his parents.
Bruce had always said, what kind of plane did you fly? And he said, a Corsair.
He said a Corsair.
He said the word Corsair.
Not only did James remember flying a Corsair, he demonstrated knowledge of the plane's peculiarities, like the time he was flipping through a book about planes when he was 4.
We got to the Corsair, and he said, that's a Corsair. He goes, you know what? They used to get flat tires all the time.
In fact, historians and pilots agree that the plane's tires took a lot of punishment on landing. Of course, this is a fact that could easily be found in books or on TV. But then, James began to offer up the kinds of specific details his parents say are harder to explain away.
Another night, Bruce had come in and he said, do you remember where your plane took off? And he said it took off of a boat. Do you remember the name of your boat? Natoma. Do you remember what your name was? And he'd always say, James. His name is James. It never really occurred to us. We thought he just wasn't understanding the question. So I said, do you remember any friends or anyone else that you flew with? And he said, Jack Larson.
Bruce began doing some research. Almost immediately, he discovered that the Natoma was an actual ship, a small aircraft carrier in the Pacific called the Natoma Bay. And Jack Larson, the Navy buddy little James recalled? Well, it turns out there was a pilot named Jack Larson who served aboard the Natoma Bay. In fact, he's alive and well and living in Arkansas.
And it was like, holy mackerel. I mean, really, you could have poured my brains out of my ears. And I just couldn't believe it.
And there were more clues. Around this time, James began signing crayon drawings and other artwork. James 3.
One day I asked him why he's calling himself James 3. Well, it's because I'm the third James. And everyone's...
Hare Krishna. So in this video we saw there is a real story of reincarnation where a pilot in Second World War was an American pilot and his aeroplane was shot by Japanese aeroplanes and he again born and he had the exact memories of his previous life and many things which a 3 or 4 years old boy cannot understand about the warplanes, but he was explaining it in very details. And the characters he was naming, they found out in the history of war. The person named Jack, he was his friend. He was living and he confirmed that we were together in our war, and the James, he died because of the crash of the plane. So these stories, they prove that there is reincarnation, and many people have these memories of previous life. But as the time goes on and people keep neglecting, because most of the people don't bother to know about reincarnation, or they don't trust this phenomenon of reincarnation. So gradually, by the effect of time, people forget these things. But in small children, we see that these memories of past lives are there intact, and many cases, more than 2,000 cases, has been studied by the scientists, which proves that there is. So now we'll see uh, what are the great philosophers all over the world. They think about reincarnation. So here is Benjamin Franklin, who says, "Finding myself to exist in this world, I believe I shall, in some shape or other, always exist." So here, directly or indirectly, he is saying that I shall exist in. Adams, he says, those souls who revolted against God were placed here to transmigrate through various species of animals, birds, reptiles, etc. And Socrates, he was believer of soul. I am confident that there uh, truly is such a thing as living again, and the living spring from the dead. And before he was sentenced to death, he said to people that actually you cannot touch me. So he was very much aware of the presence of soul, and he knew that actually the real person, real us, we are different from this external body. And this great people, they also accepted the fact of reincarnation. There is one more case study which Ian Stevenson has done, which is from India. Her name was Shukla, that girl, and she used to speak about her previous life. And many times the parents neglected, as she must have heard something from television or neighboring people. But when she kept on speaking about the same things again and again repeatedly, then her parents thought, okay, let's go to that village. But she was speaking about particular village where she is living in the past, where she lived in the past. And she was also narrating different stories, how she died, and about her in-laws and her husband in the past life, and her children in the past life. So this small uh, girl, her parents took her to that village, and very surprisingly, this Shukla was a little more than 5 years old, only 5 years old. And she went to that village, Bhatpara. When they arrived, Shukla took the lead, avoiding various possible wrong turns. She knew the road exactly where that Amrit Lal Chakravarti, who was his father-in-law in last life, she took all her present parents to her in-laws' house in previous life without mistake, without missing her any road. So she perfectly brought all the people there, and then when they reached the house, she introduced all people exactly with the name. She said Haridhana Chakravarti as her husband, and her mother-in-law, brother-in-law, husband, and her daughter was also there. When she was in last life, she was a married woman, and she had a daughter. So now that daughter had grown bigger, she was older than her mother, because her mother now reincarnated. So she showed very motherly affection for that girl, that daughter. she was more in age than her. So such a affection or love or motherly love cannot be possible for a small age girl, cannot show for a elderly girl. But that is the fact, and this story, this particular incidents showed that there is reincarnation, and exactly she knew the names of all the characters, all the family members, and they were shocked to understand this, that reincarnation is a fact and that is very much possible, because in such circumstances, when person is about to die, is going to die now, those people who are with whom he is so much attached to, and because of that attachment and because of that remembrance, uh, same person is reborn with that attachment or according to those desires. So this reincarnation is quite everywhere in the Vedic scriptures, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, many scriptures, Puranas, Upanishads, everywhere this speaks about reincarnation. And here we see the case studies or real examples, real time examples, real life examples, by which we can understand that there is reincarnation. Now, uh, mystery of life. What is the meaning of life? Why this material world is created? So this is the third subject of Bhagavad Gita. Now we are trying to understand, that is material nature, Prakriti. First we understood about God, Ishvara, then Jiva means the soul. Third is material nature. This is material nature. So in the world in which we are living now, this is not permanent place, because there is a creation of this place, of this material world, and there is annihilation after some particular years. And the soul who belongs to this spiritual world, because he desires to stay away from God and enjoy material happiness, he is sent to this material world. And that is how, by choosing between the two, spiritual world and material world, this living entity, the soul, when he chooses to live in spiritual material world, he is sent to material world to try to enjoy separately from God. So the root cause of soul transmigrating from one body to another in this material world is his desire to control and be the Lord. Because the living entity, when he was staying with Lord Krishna in spiritual world, he became envious of Krishna, and he wanted to become the Lord, as Krishna is Lord of everyone, everything. Similarly, the soul becomes desiring of such control and such lordship and enjoyment. So Lord says, okay, you want to enjoy like me, then you go there in material world and try to enjoy. I will facilitate whatever desires you have. I will produce facilities for those desires. And in that way, this living entity is fell down in material world, and here it tries to enjoy material happiness, which is actually an illusion, which is not possible. So in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, first verse, it says, Urdhva Moolam Adashakam Ashwatham Prahuravayam Vedansi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavita Chandansi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavita. So it said that spiritual world is like is compared to a tree, and material world is the inverted shadow of the tree. So actually, material world is such a tree whose roots are up in the sky, and whose branches and twigs and leaves, fruits and flowers, they are downwards, and the roots are upwards. Like on the banks of a river or a lake, we see the shadow of a river, shadow of a tree is seen in water inverted. The tree seems appears as if inverted in water. So similarly, there is spiritual word, and this tree is there in spiritual word, but its shadow or mirror reflection is material word. And the root is Lord Sri Krishna, as we understood in first session, that Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda, Krishna is the cause of all the causes, both the material world and spiritual world. So in this image, this is shown. This image is taken from Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. So why we left God and why we came to material world? What is the cause? So by this small example, we can understand the mentality of a living entity while coming to material world. Here is one mother, and she is trying to cook food for family in her kitchen, and she has small daughter. She comes there and she says to mommy that I also want to cook. I want to cook for our family. So mother knows that this small daughter, she will not be able to cook anything there. So she arranges for a toy kitchen, small plastic or fiber um, substance. She purchased from market and she gave it to her daughter and said, "Okay, now you cook again. This is your kitchen. You start cooking." And in a playing, she is making all the foodstuffs like, see, mama, I have made chapati, I have made rice, I have made this dal, sabji, whatever. And mother appreciates her. Wow, wow, very good, very nice. You have prepared this. So similarly, when the living entity who is staying with Krishna, living with Krishna, serving Krishna, he wants to become Krishna, like Krishna. Yet Krishna says that is not possible. You can't become like me. I am myself, I am Supreme Lord, and you are my part and parcel, fragmental parts. You are my children. You cannot do as I am doing because that is not possible for you. But when the children, the living entities, souls, they insist on, no, I want to become like you. I want to become like you. So then Krishna creates a material world like this toy kitchen, this toy world he makes, and says, okay, you try to become God here. You go and try to become controller and enjoyer of this world. In that way, this material world is created just to fulfill the desires of living entities. The Father, our real Father, Supreme Father, Lord Krishna, is so merciful that He wants to facilitate for all the desires of His children. And such rebellious children, or those who didn't wanted to listen to Lord Krishna, they came here in this world and they are trying to become Lord by controlling, exploiting the mother nature and trying to become God. So here is one story which uh, very explicitly explains the nature of material world and how the living entities are suffering in this world. So one person was there. He was living in a city, and there was a big wall between. And after that wall, there was a forest outside the city. There was a tall wall, and after that there was a jungle forest. So this person became very much curious to know that what is there beyond this wall. The whole wall is there, 15, 20 feet high, and beyond that, what is there? Let's see. So once he climbed with the help of some staircase and all, and he jumped in the forest. As soon as he jumped in the forest, he heard the sound of a tiger, and tiger was very hungry, and he was trying to capture a prey and eat it. So tiger started chasing him, and this person was miserable because tiger was behind him, and he was running and screaming to save his life. And tiger was behind him, and suddenly this person fell into a river. There was an open river, means without any border or without any uh, side wall. So he fell down. While falling in a well, he caught hold of a twig of a tree. Inside the well, there was small bushes like, and he caught one of the branches of that bush, and he was hanging there. And tiger came there, and tiger was up on the well, bottom of the well, and he was waiting that if this person comes up, then I will eat him. And he was hanging for some time. Then he saw there was a snake at the bottom of the well, big snake, a python was there, who was also very hungry, and he was waiting that if this person falls down, then I will engulf him. And at the same time, there was a beehive. The honeybees were there on this bush, and they got disturbed because of this person, and they started stinging him one by one, and he was feeling great pain. He was hanging somehow, uh, clinging to the branch of a bush, and these honeybees were biting him, giving him a lot of pain. And downwards, at the bottom of the well, the python is waiting, and upside there is a tiger is waiting. And he saw that two uh, rats were there. They were eating this twig or the branch of a tree, and he is going to fall now because this branch will break and he is going to fall. In such a condition, he saw this from this honeycomb. There was some drops of honey were falling down, and in each 2-3 minutes, one drop used to fall from that bee honeycomb. And he opened his mouth, and by his tongue, he wanted to lick that honey and taste it. And one drop fell on his tongue, and he was just uh, relishing the sweetness of the honey. That is natural, organic honey was there in forest, and he was trying to relish. So by this example, by this story, we can understand this material world, material life is so horrible, so miserable, that this tiger is compared to different material desires, which makes person run here and there throughout his life, day and night, to fulfill their desire. So this tiger is compared to Maya, illusion, which gives a hope of happiness, and because of that, to fulfill that desires, a person runs here and there, works very hard like a donkey, and tries to earn more and more money and to enjoy his senses more and more. But actually, he lands up in more and more miserable life. And here, this python uh, is the is compared to the death, like Kala, who is trying to uh, swallow everything. This Kala, so it's waiting for us. At any time, we can die. And these honeybees, they are stinging. So a lot of suffering we get from other animals, other human beings. That is called Adi Bhautik Klesh. Then Adhyatmik Klesh, the suffering given by mind and body. The uncontrolled mind gives so much trouble, we saw yesterday. And unhealthy body or old body gives lot of trouble. So all these troubles are called Adhyatmik Klesh. And this living entity in this material world is suffering all these kleshas, all these sufferings, different type of difficulties. And here these two rats, one is black, one is white. They are day and night, and they are trying to eat or bite this branch of a tree. So they are like day and night, and this day and night they are spending our life. They are finishing our lifetime, and we are approaching gradually towards death. But in such a horrible, in such a miserable condition, this person is taking happiness in the one drop of honey. This one drop of honey is dropping on his tongue. This person forgets all his miseries just because of one drop of honey. what he is looking there. So such a condition of living entity is there in material world, that in spite of having so much suffering, just small pleasure which is there in this material world, with small pleasure, uh, for this small pleasure, person is ready to take big responsibilities and big troubles to enjoy just very small amount of happiness. So so there is said that this suffering or the unhappiness in this world is like a mountain, and the happiness in this world is like mustard seed, very small amount of happiness in this world, and more is the suffering, more is the anxiety and fear and frustration, all these things. But still the person wants to go for that uh, very minute material happiness, and that is why this world is going on and on and on continuously, because people have unfulfilled desires. They want to uh, enjoy materially by material objects, and because of that, at the time of death, they remember some material things, and again these material desires bring them in this material world. In that way, birth after birth, this living entity is revolving in this material world, and he is actually miserable, but he thinks himself that I am very happy. And this birth, old age, disease, and death, these four major problems of life, they destroy all his plans, all his dreams. A person may be very intelligent, may be very rich, he may be having very beautiful wife, very nice kids, children, but still that person faces so many problems in this material world, like old age, diseases, and death, that cannot be avoided. So his plans to become happy or eternally happy, so that is broken by all these conditionings of material world. And then again he starts in next life. He goes to school, ABCD, he learns ABCD. Then he goes to school, college. Then he earns money by working very hard. Again he gets into family life, and again he becomes old, tired, frustrated by material work, and again he dies with unfulfilled desires. Such is the illusion of this material world. This is called Maya. And still this person again and again experiences this suffering. But at the time of death, when he gets the next body, he forgets everything. And again, he newly tries to understand or experience all the enjoyment. And in that way, this ignorance about the spiritual world or about the soul and God, person is uh, forced to again and again take birth and death. So, those people are very fortunate who get this transcendental knowledge about soul and God, about spiritual life from a self-realized spiritual master who is coming in honest guru disciple succession, and who gives the message of God, Krishna, that all living entities in this world, they are children of God, Krishna. And because staying away from Krishna, we are now experiencing miseries in this material world, and temporary life we are experiencing. But if we purify our desires, we purify our thoughts, and if we develop love for Krishna, uh, we redevelop our relationship with Krishna, then we can go back to him. He will accept him. He will accept us, and will be very happily engaged in Krishna's service there in spiritual world. So that possibility, uh, that option is open for us. That those souls who want to purify their material existence and want to go back to Krishna, they can go by a process of devotional service. So whole science about this devotional service and going back to Krishna is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as it is. Those who are interested, they can read and understand and apply in their life, and they can lead very happy and satisfied life. So these senses can never be satisfied. This person, see, uh, is lying down in the bathtub and uh, he's watching television, movies. Also, he's hearing some music with the headphones. He's drinking some liquor, cold drinks, cigarettes. He's smoking. Then he has a massager here, massager, toothbrush, all these things. And all the senses, he's trying to gratify practically all the senses by these different instruments which he has arranged with his uh, दो number का पैसा by cheating whatever money he has collected by cheating, looting others, that he is trying to enjoy with that money by different instruments he has brought in his home. But even after doing so many things for the satisfaction of the senses, senses can never be satisfied. See, since how many years we are eating palatable dishes, many things which we like, we are trying to eat. This tongue is demanding so many things since many births. Still, if we consider only this lifetime only, still we have uh, eaten so much food, different types of food, but this tongue is just not, still not satisfied. She wants to eat more and more food, more and more taste. She want to experience. Similarly, our ears, they want to hear more and more sweet sounds, music, and all these things, worldly talks. Our eyes, they want to see beautiful things, and our sense of touch wants to touch very soft things. A woman wants to touch a man wants to touch woman. But such relationships are going on and on and on since many births, one after another. But still, we are not satisfied with such temporary loving relationships. And our nose, it looks for a fragrance, very good aroma. So it's also not satisfied by many lifetimes. Is trying to enjoy. Still, it's not satisfied. So it's like a fish who is out of water. No matter what you give him, like money, cigarettes, magazines, pizza, burgers, liquor, internet, whatever you try to give that fish cannot be happy. Be, because it's outside the water. Its nature, original nature is to be in water. And this fish can be happy only in water. Similarly, this living entity who belongs to the spiritual world, who has come down from spiritual world, can only become happy when when he goes back to spiritual world and stays with Krishna, engages in his service, establishes his relationship with Krishna, then only that living entity can become happy. Otherwise, there is no possibility. So we chant Hare Krishna, and benefits of chanting. There are many benefits. So it's a sacrifice for Kali Yuga. Cultivation of knowledge by reading Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna, and worshipping Radha Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita and associating with saintly people can elevate ourselves gradually to the kingdom of God. And the problems of our life, anxiety, stress, fear, material miseries, they all be finished immediately as soon as we surrender to Krishna. There is naturally there will be peace of mind, and real happiness can be experienced by engaging ourselves in this Sankirtan movement by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the soul is naturally happy because it is made up of such Chit Ananda. And God is supremely Satchidananda, supreme source of bliss. The soul's nature is Satchidananda, eternity, bliss, and happiness. Similarly, the God has nature of eternity, bliss, and happiness. Sorry, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So the soul cannot be happy with material things. The matter which doesn't have life in itself, it's just a dead matter, made up of earth, water, air, fire, ether. All the material things are made from all these five ingredients, five Pancha Mahabhutas. So soul is transcendental to these material things. It's not from this material world. The soul has come from spiritual world, and it has a spiritual nature. So soul requires similarly spiritual things to take happiness. Soul cannot be happy with material things. So that's why when the soul takes shelter of Krishna, chants his names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And by reading Bhagavad Gita, he tries to understand Krishna and engages all his senses in the service of Krishna. Engages his mind in worshipping Krishna, understanding Krishna, using his intelligence for understanding Bhagavad Gita and trying to understand Krishna, engaging his feet for going to the temple of Hare Krishna, ISKCON temple, or going to Vrindavan, Mayapur Dham, Jagannath Puri Dham, Pandharpur Dham, to do parikrama, circumambulation of the temples or the auspicious place, the tirthas or the those places on this earth which are sanctified, purified by the presence of Lord there. Lord visited such places, did pastimes on these places, and because of that they become special places of worship. In such places, dham, going, we can uh, use our legs, feet. Our hands can be used in the service of Krishna. So in that way, all our senses, our body, our mind, intelligence, when engaged in the service of Krishna, they can be purified, and then we can realize the real happiness, real bliss of soul. Soul is naturally happy, but when the impurities which are covering the soul, which are earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, these are covering the soul. And as the sun is covered by clouds sometimes, so this contaminated consciousness, contaminated mind and senses, they are covering the knowledge of soul, the eternity of soul, and the happiness of soul. And because of that, the soul has to again and again go through the cycle of birth and death, and that is the cause of again and again suffering in this material. So by this session, today summary of this session is that Punarapa Jananam Punarapi Maranam Punarapi Janani Jathare Shayanam Yaha Sansare Bahudustare Kripaya Pare Pahi Murare. So this we living entities, we are pure spirit souls. We are eternal companions, eternal associates of Lord Sri Krishna. But because we try to enjoy separately from Krishna and wanted to become Lord of the material nature, we wanted to become God. So God said, Krishna said that, okay, I make a separate word for you, and you go and try to become Krishna or the Supreme Lord there. And because of such foolish desire, because of revolting against Krishna, because of rejecting Krishna's service, uh, we have come down in this material world. And after coming here, we have contacted with false ego, this contaminated intelligence and mind and the senses, which makes us believe that we are not this soul, but we are body. Such wrong belief is given to the soul because of the false ego. false identity is given to that soul. And because of that false identity, that living entity thinks that I am born out of this material nature and my happiness can be there. I can experience happiness just by because of these material things. So all this illusion is created just to rectify the desire of living entities. When living entity comes to his senses, he understands that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, supreme control of everything, supreme Lord, and we are his children and we are supposed to serve him because we are dependent on him for everything in our life. So such understanding, when it is given by the spiritual masters, spiritual master is one who opens our eyes and we can see the reality that this world is miserable, this full of suffering, and all time to time many problems keep coming in our life. So that is because of giving up Krishna's association, because of giving up Krishna's service. So when a living entity is understood that my suffering, my birth and death, again and again going in this uh, womb of a mother, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, again and again dying, again and again taking birth, punarapi janani, again going in the womb of a mother, and this sansara, this material world is bahudustare, it's very dangerous, very hellish, it's full of suffering, full of anxiety, full of fear. The living entity is not happy here. So that after realizing such things, living entity prays to Krishna that please save me, please protect me, please take me out from this illusion, please engage me in your eternal service, take me in your back to your eternal abode, Vaikuntha, Golak Vrindavan. And then Krishna, after hearing this prayer from the living entity, as soon as the living being soul tries to march towards Lord Krishna, as soon as he steps forward, one step he puts towards God, God takes 1,000 steps towards the soul to help him to get back to his original nature, to get back to his original position, where he was completely satisfied, completely happy, without any miseries, without any anxiety, fear, without any frustration, without old age, disease, and death, without birth. So, such an eternal, happy, and the life full of satisfaction and bliss was available for us, but because of choosing a wrong thing in our life, we have fallen in this material world. And this cycle of bad activities is going on in life. So when we stop that bad activities, we try to purify ourselves and we take shelter of Krishna, we surrender to Krishna. That time we take a U-turn towards Krishna and Krishna helps us to come back to him. So that is the basic knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita speaks about more details about all the uh, details of all these things, but we just uh, understood in very briefly. So now we covered three subjects of Bhagavad Gita, that is Ishvara, God, then second is Jiva, means soul, third is Prakriti, means material nature. And now tomorrow we will know about two more subjects, tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Kala means time, and karma means activities of the living entities. So thank you so much for today joining with us. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So let's meet tomorrow at the same time, 7 p.m., where we will discuss further topics of Discover Yourself course, in which we will discuss about time and karma tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Thank you.